The University of North Carolina is not just an athletic powerhouse with dedicated fans. It's also a top-tier academic institution. But one academic counselor there, who spent years tutoring student athletes, says too many of them can't even read.
I mean, we may as well just go over to Glenwood Elementary right up the street and just let all the fourth graders in here, third graders in here.
They can't read, and there are no remedial classes. What's the option? To cheat?
The other option is to cheat. That's correct. Or to find some professor, some course of curriculum where there are professors or there is little or no work expected of the student.
Mary Willingham says there are athletes who come to the University of North Carolina who are reading at a third and fourth grade level. She says there's no way for them to succeed in a college classroom. The only place they can succeed here is on the football field. Willingham is one of the few people we could find who's looking at the reading levels of athletes in the revenue-generating sports, football and basketball.
They're leaving here, our profit sport athletes, without an education. They're significantly behind the level of reading and writing that's required.
With the university's permission, she combed through 8 years' worth of test scores and found that up to 25% of athletes in the revenue sports don't have the skills to take classes at a community college, let alone a competitive university like UNC. Looking at 183 football and basketball players between 2004 and 2012, Willingham found that 8% were reading below a fourth grade level, and 60% were reading between a fourth and eighth grade reading level. We wanted to know, is this happening at other schools? The NCAA told us that in 2012 alone, there were 30 football and basketball players who were admitted with very low test scores. Of course, they point out that's just a small percentage of the 5,700 athletes admitted that year who are playing those sports. But we wanted to know for ourselves. So we filed open records requests at 37 public universities across the country where open records laws apply. We asked for 6 years worth of data. We got data back from 21 Division I universities, including top 25 ranked football schools like Texas A&M, Georgia, Oklahoma State, Ohio State, and Clemson. The results were startling. Most schools had between 7 and 18% of football and basketball players scoring so low on the reading portion of their exams, experts told us they would only be reading at an elementary level. That's an ACT score of 16 or less, or below a 400 on the reading portion of the SAT. But many of the universities had different explanations for low test scores, like Texas, which said some athletes don't try very hard, aiming only to become NCAA eligible. Or Washington, which pointed out low scores may indicate learning disabilities. And Louisville, which said entrance exams are just one factor considered when admitting a student athlete. You can read their full responses on CNN.com. Not every school we asked would give us information. In fact, about half refused or said they'd send the data after football season. Neither Florida State nor Auburn, which played in the BCS championship game, provided data. Why did we first go to UNC? We were following up on a scandal from 2 years ago, when it was discovered that many student athletes were enrolled in classes that required little or no work. Even though the NCAA said it found no athletic scandal, a professor was recently indicted for fraud, and UNC's own internal investigation found evidence of academic fraud. As a result, the school says it put in place 120 reforms and insists that UNC's athletic program is now clean. You're confident here that you're doing the right thing by student athletes?
I'm very confident. And I think our track record over time that we admit students can do the work. Now, we also are highly competitive, and our students have to compete Monday to Friday as well as they do on Saturday. And I think the ones that are really committed to being outstanding students, they are.
Mary Willingham says she's skeptical these changes have made a difference.
We say that we made 120 changes, which you can make all the changes you want, but if you're still not meeting students where they're at as an educator and bringing them along so that they can have success in the classroom, then those changes are all for nothing.
CNN also talked to a dozen professors and advisors at multiple universities, and they echoed what Mary Willingham found. Now, the universities argue they're satisfied with their overall graduation rates. But the question, of course, is how do these athletes graduate if they can't read? Sarah Ganem, CNN, Washington.